A pound on a horse represents to Tony and Jill Whitfield about 2.5% of their weekly income. Tony's a schoolteacher earning just over £20 a week. Jill earns about the same in an employment office. They regard a day at the races, it might cost them anything up to £10 in all, as a necessary extravagance. They feel it makes more bearable what they actually consider to be a financially underprivileged life. With an income of £40 a week, no children, and a one-room flat in the centre of London that costs them £8 a week, they should be, comfortably off. But they're not. They juggle their debts between 5 bank accounts, but somehow still explain their large car is just as cheap to run as a small one. While they believe in their hardship, they quite see that a lot of people might think that they're whining about nothing, that with £2,000 a year, they're very well off.
In fact, it's rather more than 2,000, I think, probably 2,000 net. I quite agree. I'm not expecting any sympathy. I can imagine. I know many people who've brought up 3 children on £14 a week. I quite agree with you.
How much money a year do you think you'd need to keep within your limits?
Well,
if we didn't have any debts, anything to pay off at all, you mean? Probably 3,000, 4,000.
Well, I think that we can have a fairly
good time.
I think we can have a fairly adequate existence on 3,000 to 5,000 a year net. Yes, fine. But a lot of people earn a lot more than that, don't they? And it's not like I don't particularly want money from self-indulgent motives. I want it for other reasons.
How much above your income do you think you're actually spending now?
Difficult to say offhand. What would you say, Jill?
I don't know. It's difficult to say in pounds, isn't it?
Do you think you're living at the rate of nearer 3,000 a year, for instance, than 2,000?
Oh, I should think more.
Oh, I would think less, actually. Otherwise we'd be accumulating more and more debts. We do accumulate debts, but we are paying them off. We're probably getting rid of our debts at the rate of about £2 a month, because although we pay off something like 20 or 30 a month, we accumulate fresh ones to the value of, if we spend 20 a month on debts, we accumulate fresh ones to the value of 16 or 17.
Do you reckon?
It's going to be a very slow process. It's bound to come right in the end as we earn more, and as we perhaps do make a bit more effort to pay them off. We don't really worry about paying them off. The banks aren't going to go bust, are they? They're far better off than we are. We feel, you see, why should we have a particularly bad time come Easter or Christmas, say, when the bank isn't going to have a particularly bad time, is it? We resent people who have money too, and you see that a lot in this area, in South Kensington, and you go into Belgravia. It is a little irritating somehow.
Does it make it better? Does it help the resentment then to live above your own income in some way?
I think it's kind of a protest in a way, yes. To fling away the pittance, I shouldn't call it a pittance, I suppose, but to fling away the money that we have, yes. It is conditioned by our attitude.
What sort of sum do you need at the moment to get you out of all your debts?
I think £500 would solve it for us, because it would enable us to settle the debts so we'd have our salary complete, and it would enable us to open up a business. And then I don't think we should look back. I think if we were given this break, we would make an effort to stay within our means and make enough to enjoy a more adequate existence than we've been having.
Have you ever thought that you'd like to pay off your debts, your £500, and had any schemes for getting enough money to pay off the debts with?
Well, we did, in fact, at one point write to various well-known people, asking them for a loan. I do mean a loan. We didn't ask for any gifts. Of £500 in order to enable us to do this.
Who did you write to?
We selected out of who's who 1 or 2 millionaires. We picked Newbuckle Benkian and Charles Claw and the racehorse owner Jim Joel, 1 or 2 others as well, Sir Gerald Navarro. In fact, he was one of the 2 people to write back. We only got 2 replies. Sir Gerald wrote back and said it would be most unethical and improper even for a Member of Parliament to lend money. But of course we weren't asking him as a Member of Parliament, we were asking him as a rich businessman. I read he had 78 50-guinea suits, and I found this rather irritating. This prompted me to write the letter. We had a very pleasant letter from Mr. Nubal Gulbenkian, who was most sympathetic. In fact, it was from his secretary. He'd just had a heart attack at the time. We felt quite guilty and sent another letter back saying we hoped he'd get better, and so we did.
Who wrote the letter?
I did.
Can you remember what you said?
No, it was very short and to the point, because I thought if I went on pages and pages and pages, I would get absolutely nowhere. It would probably go straight into the waste paper bin anyway. So I thought, why waste my beautiful prose on such a misconstrued idea? Because I didn't really believe we'd get the money. Jill did, but I didn't. But I thought it's just an off chance, rather like winning the pools, isn't it? I wrote a very long letter to Paul Getty once. I sent it to both his addresses, one in Guildford and one in America, but not a reply. I spent all my energies on that one, I think, and didn't consider it worthwhile afterwards. But I thought if they'd been interested, they would have asked me for all my personal details, you see, or sent me a form or something, whatever they do in these cases, and I'd have sent it back duly signed and completed.
Did you point out to them that you weren't poor? You weren't suffering from poverty, you were just suffering from lack of funds because you were enjoying high living to a certain extent?
Oh yes, I pointed out that they were doing a very great service to, not to us, but maybe to humanity, who knows? Because they might, setting us on our feet might enable us to make some kind of impression in the way that we want to make an impression.
Do you find that people who are able to live within their means, or who budget themselves very carefully, are disapproving of your sort of attitude?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Very much so, yes.
Can you give me any examples of this?
It seems to be that most of the people that I know who do live within their means and have a very inadequate form of existence. They just, well, they're penny pinching. They don't go out very much. They tend to sit there in their furniture that's on HP, in their mortgaged house, watching their rented television, just to pay off these various items. They haven't got the money or the imagination to go out and live their own lives somehow. It seems a bit pointless.
Do you think
I like to experience things, and I can't experience things sitting worrying about money and bills and debts in my own unpaid for mortgaged house or flat.
Do you think they enjoy themselves as much as you do?
I don't see how they can do.